Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everybody in between and all over the world. It is time. We are here in the closing exchanges, the business end of the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships. We are at the University of Nottingham Sporting Grounds, and we have got quite the matchup for you today. The USA, that powerhouse of Ultimate, looking to perform a clean sweep, but they're going to have to get through a couple of challenges beforehand, and one of the most significant awaiting the mixed outfit today is Japan. I am Lorcan Murray. I am joined by Gigi Morrison. Gigi, what are you expecting in this matchup?
It's a rematch between the USA and Japan. Both of these teams have had to take a couple of steps away and collate their thoughts, try and figure out how to come up against such strong sides. This is actually a rematch also of the 2019 Under-24s final back in Heidelberg. So the USA are really wanting to come out firing, give their absolute everything. As we see the rest of the bracket, on pitch 2, we are also showing Singapore versus Canada.
Everything has been going chalk so far as the seedings in the mixed division are concerned. Apart from a couple of little stumbles, that means that 1 versus 2 is happening in the semi-final. United States versus Japan, 3 versus 4, Singapore versus Canada. So a real clash of styles, Gigi. And what are you expecting the Japanese to come out with following their performance, to try and shut down the kind of incredible players like Sarah Liang on the American side?
Sarah Liang is certainly a force to be reckoned with. She was instrumental for the USA and has continued to be so far. But Japan are going to have to answer to that. Lots of quick pop passes, movements. They know that they need to shut down the USA's deep game. That is quite possibly their most dangerous aspect of the game. They have some incredible receivers, both tall and small. Doesn't really matter for them whatsoever, just they're so strong and consistent. There we see some of the stats for Sarah Liang: a goal and 10 assists so far in the tournament.
Showing off why she was so effective for the Carnegie Money Melons, as they were finally able to make it through to the regionals. And a huge influential player. You want to talk about some of the influential players on the Japanese side of the disc? Then we have got plenty. Primarily among them, Osotani has been fantastic all tournament long, developing great matchups and able to really help tear apart offenses with that kind of quick give-go style. 4 assists and 7 goals, but more importantly, they work so well within that entire system, able to keep it moving at all times. And something the Americans are going to be trying to target is their ability to stagnate against their opponent's offenses. So Japan will need that kind of creativity, that kind of lightning fast action. As well as that, to give quite a warm welcome, or welcome back should it be, to Kako Matsumoto, who will be rejoining the Japanese team after being off for 4 days. And what weather to rejoin the team in.
It's beautiful this morning. It's 9 a.m. here in the UK, already 20 degrees. It's due to hit around about 26 to 28 degrees if you're talking Fahrenheit. There's about 82 degrees Fahrenheit. So certainly a lot warmer, still conditions. We have our starting 7 here.
Some really impressive talent for America. Agami Contreras, Munoz, that is some top quality experience. Van Depp as well. That is really intimidating to have to go up against. But if you are on the Japanese side, they've got talent themselves. You saw Toshiki Ishii, who has been absolutely incredible. Akane Suzuki as well. And Nagai, who has picked up 26 stats so far. So how will the Japanese fare? That's Hosotani. Gets it back into the middle and waiting for it, Ishii. So again, you can see that quick movement. And America almost standing off initially, trying to limit those first early cuts. How effective will it be? Matsuhashi centers it back into the middle of the pitch. And a high release backhand over the top. The poach block almost getting there, but not quite in time. Kurokano stays strong. That gets it back to Matsuhashi, and in middle, Nagai. He's been collecting stats, and this time he just throws it just a bit too far away. And an early turn for Japan.
Quite a lot of zip on that first throw. Again, we spoke briefly about the conditions this morning, it being quite still. If we're talking about the rest of the week, it's been a lot blusterier. So a lot of these athletes are used to having to throw more spin, a lot of snap in the wrist to try and get the disc where it needs to go. So maybe that was a slight miscalculation to start off this Japanese offense.
So Van Depp has it in the middle of the pitch and will be dishing it out all across the field. Chan, Van Depp goes up the line and collects it. That initial cut perhaps just a bit too far in front, but the under, and really nice feet by Agami Contreras to stay in bounds and send it back down the open side. So the Americans just taking the easy options right now, hard running to get space on the open side. Munoz needs to get a break across, and Van Depp is doing a fantastic job of attacking up the line. The poach almost comes off, but not quite in time. And America, it's confirmed in the hands of Cowan.
The Spirit captain for the USA getting his first stat of the game. Wasn't too comfortable for the US. Japan were doing a phenomenal job in stepping into the lane and stepping off of their mark, applying a lot of pressure. The US had to work it down the far sideline to get another look at that ever so slight overthrow, but you can see that Japan are willing to bid for absolutely everything. They're not going to give up very easily. And fancy feet, making sure he was in bounds.
So something positive to take away for the Japanese is that they were able to keep the Americans to that far sideline and really tied on it. It wasn't just Cowan. We also saw Agami Contreras have to toe the line as well, so slightly pushing them out. And then, of course, the poach off almost getting in time, but Van Depp was able to stay tall and bring it down. So close whispers, but not quite able to get the disc back. And Japan going straight through the middle of that American defense, despite their structure trying to limit it. Beautiful sunny morning in Nottingham, wherever you are in the world, whenever it is in the day. We welcome you to this Ulti-World stream and the semi-finals of the World Under-24 Championships, brought to you by Discraft, the gold standard, home of the Ultra Star, supporting disc sports for decades. Disc golf, ultimate frisbee. If you want the best, you go to Discraft. And right now we are seeing some of the best players in the world lock cords.
Japan are pulling one of their offenders really far deep, almost giving a 3-3-1 setup.
I was trying to isolate Ishii in the middle of the pitch because we know that's where they want to strike. Isolate a cutter in front of the hander and then rely on their ability to get those breaks on either side. Tight marks by the Americans. Kurikano, again under a lot of pressure, tries to get the flick off to Nagai, and Nagai, normally so assured, just has to watch that bounce out of his outstretched hands, and America come right back at them. That intimidating machine starting to grind. Krennic centers it back into the middle. More with the big float around, and they just do the fundamentals so well. And there, that one a bit too low, so as soon as I say it, there is a mistake. We know how much the Americans like to target the break side. Great pressure by Japan to earn the disc back. Matsuhashi picks it up. The undercut immediately to the front in the form of Hosotani. We're highlighting her before the game. And they are finding the space. It seems like they're trying to set up those isolations like you were pointing out, Gigi. Although still struggling to get enough separation to be comfortable with a couple of these throws. Onishi can't get it to Matsuhashi. Kurikano points as she goes up line and comes back around. Tireless work.
Japan are struggling to generate flow because the USA are forcing them into the middle, is not allowing them to get the quick pop passes and the second continuation cut pass that they're wanting.
As it is across to the far side, and Matsuhashi, now he just needs the one cut, and he finds it in the form of number 24, Okamoto.
Okamoto scores for Japan. There is some sort of call, possibly an in-out. still within bounds of the pitch, but just are they allowing the score?
They are going to award the score. It did look like Okamoto's foot landed on the line, but of course, ultimate self-officiated, and they're happy to let that one go. So 1-1, but America still getting a break.
We get to watch the replay back as well. That's our advantage here in the booth. We can say whatever we want, but that's just because we can watch it as many times as we would like.
We have the benefit of replay, and they only have the benefit of doubt. But again, spirit, something that both teams have really focused on coming into this tournament. As we have another look at that catch.
Feet could have landed almost simultaneously. I mean, that still means that she was out of bounds, but
it seemed like a single toe may have landed on that white line to keep her out of the end zone. But as I was saying, spirit, a real focus for both these sides as they come to the World Championships. We caught a little bit of the conversation between the Spirit captains. Very friendly, very open. A real celebration of the sport that we are enjoying here in the Nottingham sunshine.
Yeah, the USA really wanting to foster an environment of, under their own terms, mixed excellence. So they want to have this big buy-in of trust and love. A lot of these players playing for other mixed teams across the US. So we have Dragon Thrust, we have Hybrid, we have AMP, with Mixtape.
And those names ring out around the world. That is some top quality club sides. If you've ever watched the World Championships, and if you'd like to watch them back, you can do so with an ultiworld.com subscription. And really enjoy just some really high quality ultimate.
Literal world champions.
So now we see a Japanese zone, and almost immediately there's a hand block. It certainly seemed like Hamada got a bit of that disc, but America get away with it. Quick pop into the middle, and Downey. So they're working on the far sideline. Not going to be too afraid, you would think initially at least. Nice little cycling between them. Miller, he's looking to spread it around. Eventually he's able to get it to Stewart. Stewart gets it back to Miller. Hamada is just looking for a chance to strike through. Disc back to the hands of Schultz. Schultz pops it back. So just kind of settling into their offense. This is the first O-line look for the Americans. Miller thinks about the hammer over the top, goes with the more conservative throw to Stewart. It's the right call, but perhaps not the one the fans at home want. Back to Miller. Spreading it out. They're just settling down as they move slowly further back into their end zone.
Yeah, this is a very aggressive zone from Japan. They've got 3 people up at the front, and they've got Shima Yamada lurking in that central space, but has been getting involved particularly as they start to get shut down on the sideline. Will try to jam his hands in the way whenever possible.
And that's a brilliant break from Stewart to Maguire, as well as a nice one from Miller to Stewart in the first place. And those are the kind of break throws that really pull this zone apart, but they are difficult to do. And we see another one, but it might have just gone too far. And shepherding it into the ground is Yamada. So a turn for the Japanese defense and a chance to get it back. Hamada picks it up. Here they come. Shimo Yamada. Yes, Hamada making that move, but really well marked. He's forced to send it arcing over the top. It might float a little bit too much, but it's in fact perfect and into the hands of Hamada. They get that break back.
My goodness, I wasn't expecting a zone to be effective. There is a stall out call on the field. It does seem to be quite a fast stall count.
Well, we will wait to see how they work
I didn't hear. I couldn't hear you saying the 10. Sorry.
Okay. I'm going to call. Do you want to confess?
So I hear so my throw after that goal, so 10.
Well, by the silent counting in my head, that
So
seemed like 8.
you're contesting the stall out. Am I correct?
Yes, a contest.
Okay. So do you think you can change your position?
The mark
No?
was also
Okay,
favored
let's
off.
just.
Sorry.
You need translation?
Bear in mind you need to
Let's
be
have a
within
quick
3.
translator.
俺の感覚だと、その9と10の間に投げてるけど、10で行ってから投げてる。
What he's saying is that he's throw at 9, like stole a 9. He heard stole a 9, and then he threw. And then what he's saying is, you then you said 10.
Okay.
I think I said the T and 10
All right.
as she was throwing it. I do think I backed up as the mark pretty far, and I do wonder how, like, would I
far
pass
it
10
was.
feet?
So,
Did
from
you
my
see how
perspective,
far
you
I
were
was?
too far away
I was
to.
too far away?
Yeah,
Okay.
you were too far
I'm gonna
away.
retract then.
Okay. So that's retracted.
Fantastic spirit from the US, accepting the fact that he had stepped quite far away, Aidan Downey. And now Japan, first break for themselves in the game. That is definitely good. Like, you see the momentum that it's going to give them, the spirit that's in their fiery bellies.
That fighting spirit that this team is synonymous with. And how many times, Gigi, have we seen a team give up a break in the first point against the Americans and everybody just kind of goes, oh, it's going to be one of those types of games. That little fear bubbles up. But the fear certainly not bubbling up for Japan as we have another look. That zone working so effectively. And then stall count getting high. Really great vision by Shimo Yamada. There was a lot of cutting. I think it was Hamada was actually trying to get isolated directly in front and he just couldn't, being marked very effectively. I believe, if I remember correctly, by Agami Contreras.
I can understand why Downey had stepped away from the force, not to the distance or the extent that he had actually done so. But as the stall count begins to rise, you are then starting to threat that hammer overhead option. So you're wanting to jam your hands up to prevent that throw.
So something that's going to, something that weighs on our mind just a little bit is how many teams have been able to get breaks on this US side? How many teams have been able to put them in a deficit? It's only a point, and really it's just Japan on serve. But it does make you wonder. They always try to ramp up, but it can be difficult to switch it on. They are already past halfway though, so not really stopping them down on this point at the very least. Munoz, so central, so important, and as well Van Depp. Those two players are truly elite. They have plenty of experience at the highest level of this sport. Van Depp has it again. Munoz has Kabrilovic. He set up, sent it to the opposite side. And waiting for it was Nicole Chan. Back across to Van Depp. So lots of passing, lots of give go. Really nice jump in by Chan. I didn't think that was available at all.
Yeah, certainly was. Lorcan dancing along for the score, and Chan with the cartwheel as well. Celebration. But the body awareness to make sure that she didn't actually body check anyone else, giving the US a hold. And looking through the US's previous results, they haven't really been, I say this very tenuously, they haven't been heavily challenged so far in the tournament. Their closest game having been a 15-8 win against Japan themselves. But otherwise it's been 15-4, 15-3, 15-5. Really, they've just been dominant this whole time. And even that game against Japan previously, they got multiple breaks up in the game. So they were in control the whole time. So this could be a shaky start, possibly, but Japan really wanting to come out firing. They know how the US play. They're coming in with new tactics. They were quite secretive with us ahead of this game.
It's always a little bit of a mixed reaction when people don't want to reveal to us their strategy before a game. It's a little bit of like, oh, okay, fine, keep your secrets. But then at the same time, like, all right, well, gonna have a little bit of fun and see what we can notice. As here come Japan on the offense. They've given up one break already. But they have shown they can also get the disc back if they have to. That is an awful lot of hard work by Kurakano. But a nice break back inside. Araki and Kurakano combining well. Araki goes deep. Collected under instead by Suzu. And Kurak back on the far sideline. Looking for Itachi, in a lot of trouble. Eventually able to get him back to get it back to him. They're really stuck on that far sideline. Struggling to get any real separation off it. Kokido eventually able to get that dump back to Araki. He has Hamada in the backfield. And those breaks and that ability to move laterally, really being limited by the American defense right now.
Yeah, Japan cuts with a very low center of gravity whenever they're changing direction. You can see how low they squat down into that change of direction.
That was a fantastic break by Araki to get them out of that situation. And Kurikano just about able to get that one. Low throw, well secured on the other side. Kataoka sends it back to Araki. Araki, this is where Japan are deadly. The Americans so effective at shutting them down, and a massive bid and block. Henry Ing. I think everybody watching back in the United States is waiting for us to say that man's name. As now America with another break opportunity. They're getting turns on Japan. And they're looking to play it all the way down the field. Nice and quick. Gray has the dump back to the position of Moore, but it bounces out of his hand unexpectedly. So again, flashes of mortality from what has been an absolute machine of an American mixed outfit so far in this tournament.
And Japan really taking their time to pick up the disc, making sure that their offense is set. We're seeing it a vertical stack look instead. The deep shot coming up. Araki just out of the reach.
See, they were trying to set that deep look up. Adachi was waiting, like you said, walking slowly, but the throw just a bit too far ahead. An incredible bid. But not quite enough. So now we have Austin Nab for the US. Front of the end zone, taking his time walking up. Letting his team get set up. There's the quick set play, although there's going to be a pick called.
Quite like the look of that set play. They've got the 3-4 horizontal stack set up, and having the disc in the middle, both of the wing handlers cutting into the center to allow an open space for that widest cutter to become available on the under.
So Moore, in middle of the pitch. And he launches one, it's floating. The man who started with the disc might be the one to end with it. Austin Nab, bodies piling up underneath, but the big man plucks one out of the air.
No call, no contest. Austin Nab, first score of the game for him. And the US are firing. They're so excited by that point. Again, a little bit shaky, a few turnovers from both sides. Japan applying a lot of pressure on D, but the US utilizing their deeper shots. That layout bid from Ing, incredible stuff.
It's so effective. Like we were saying, that isolation directly in front of the handler is what so much of the Japanese offense is initially based on, either to the open or break side. So you have another look at the American turnover as well. And here's the big shot deep. Austin Nab, you might see the form of Araki just searching, trying to find any position that could give him an extra inch in the air, but at the end of the day, he's coming up short against Hayden Austin Nab, who's having himself quite an impressive tournament so far. Though it must be said, 8 goals, 5 assists. These Americans, the stats are really spread out across the team, showing that team ethos and how they try to use every single player on their roster and how they all contribute on both the stat sheet and to the culture off the pitch as well.
Yeah, usually when we're doing our research ahead of the game, we look down the roster, the results page available from WUFDF, and try to identify, okay, who are going to be the key players? Because you can usually tell by the number of assists or the number of goals that players are scoring who the main handlers are going to be or who the main deep receivers are. But again, as you mentioned, across the US, it's so evenly spread. There's only one person that has one stat to their name, and that seems to be only, unfortunately, because they aren't able to play.
So America using the full width of their squad as effectively as that squad uses the full width of the pitch. But for now, it is down to Japan's O-line. Still looking for a clean hold.
The US seem to be setting up in some sort of zone look for themselves. Tipped off from Munoz.
That was tantalizingly close. Matsuhashi gets it back. And there is space for the Japanese to operate in on the far sideline. And there seems to be the quick melt into match. And I don't know if Hiroto Matsuhashi has ever had to work this hard to get free on the jump before. Gorokano. And that was much more like what the Japanese offense likes to operate. Back to the form of Gorokano. They're still trying to poke a way through. Each yard is so hard won against this defense. Nice reset back into the middle. Matsuhashi and the quick pop starting to work out for them, pulling the Americans apart. But then that stall count gets a little bit higher. Ishii's forced to try and find Matsuhashi and does so.
Now evens at 3-3, and that point is the perfect example of the large range of skill set that these Japanese throwers have. They are extremely adept at getting quick release pop passes off between themselves. But even as soon as the stall count seems to rise, they just continue pivoting. It's so determined. You'll see here, just pivot, one fake, moving around, finding the next available option. Stall count does begin to rise, running out, but amazing determination to find the next available option. They will continue cutting for each other.
Ishii not buying into the pressure, not letting himself get overwhelmed by the moment here in this semi-final and ties up the game. He has 10 goals already in this tournament and adding an extra assist on there to bring his tally to 4 in that department. And we're getting a little bit of on-field direction perhaps. Hiroto Matsuhashi going to be staying out there for the D-line. Matsuhashi has been a real leader for this team. 19 assists, 6 goals coming into this game. And playing both sides of the disc as they recognize this is where they've got to leave it all out on the table. Collected in the back of the end zone.
A phenomenal pull. That is such a dangerous position to be in.
So now Japan gets to play the defensive structure that they like. A suffocating zone at the front. Requires some nifty throws to get it through. Right now America, Agami Canteras, Munoz doing a good job just keeping the disc alive, resetting that stall count, passing it back and forth between them. Trying to find those gaps. You can see Von Depp just lurking a little bit to the right of Munoz. Now gets it. He is about as far back in that corner as you can get, and there's Munoz again towing the line. The Japanese are doing a good job of pushing the Americans to that far sideline, making them get these athletic grabs. The Americans so far equal to it. Agami Canteras gets the blade through to Von Depp. Those are the kind of throws they need to break this zone apart. Munoz. Canteras makes the move up the line. And really great work with Von Depp until maybe a bit too speedy a disc.
Exactly what this zone is aiming to do. Generate a lot of throws to cause an error like we've seen here.
It's the second time they've been able to pull it off. Hamada. Hamada back to Nishida. And that is a quick turnover and a quick boost deep. It might float perfectly. It's going to just be chased down comfortably for the collection at the back of the end zone by Jacob Cowan. Japan are getting opportunities, but the pressure is difficult and an immediate one-look shot.
That was a beautiful throw from one point of the pitch to the next. Jacob Cohen bringing in another score. Just a simple drop, but so much pressure applied from Japan and having to answer to that. Immediately picking up and looking deep. Gains control, loses control at the back of the end zone.
Now that is interesting. That should probably count as a bobble, unless he wanted to maybe play it off as one of the more spontaneous spikes I've ever seen. But we're gonna just look at that one more time. Does he have control within bounds to count it as a legitimate point right here?
I don't believe that that is fully sustained control. Clap catches it, brings it in closer to his chest, but as like it's not. See, control is stopping the rotation of the disc, but that didn't seem to be fully sustained control. But Japan didn't notice, and they're now back on offense.
With Adachi on the disc. Adachi looking, leads one out for Kurakano, who collects it. That layout clap catch. As the Japanese looking for some security in a dangerous matchup against America. So there's the pick call.
Highest can be 6. Okay, so we're saying 6.
It's coming in on 6. Kokito's going to need to make a decision quickly. Again, no call, and that one thrown outside of the range of Araki. You see how quickly they rush back down the pitch. Austin Nab got a goal already with a fantastic grab. And here come the USA again, in the form of more. Austin Nab now, center of the pitch. Goes to the big inside blade across, and I think realistically 2 people could have probably caught that, but in the end it winds up in the hands of Henry Ing.
Clean and smooth offense from the USA D-line. They're causing so much hassle to this Japanese offense. You can feel the pressure radiating off of the back of, well, from the pitch up here in the booth. Ing fired up. US now up 2 breaks? 3 breaks.
So we have another look there. Do you think there might have been a slight offensive foul on one of the cutters just before that? But what a throw. Austin Nab. And then Ing enjoying himself. I'm not entirely sure what that was. Maybe with the celebrations, the more creative they get. I am far enough removed from the youth that I need some of them explained to me. So Japan understandably calling a timeout and bring it in. They know they can get turns on this American side. They've even punched a break in. And there's a lot of positives to take from that. But America in danger of going on a roll, 5-3 in the lead. As America looking to get a little bit of applause for their performance so far. 5-3 up in a commanding position. But the fighting spirit of the Japanese will not be quelled easily. And there's a lot of game left to go. Matsuhashi to Kurakano. Kurakano sends it across to Nagai. Nagai, a real leader for this Japanese side. He's going to get everything he can handle when he's being marked by Brown. Nagai doesn't want the initial dump pass to Kurakano. Is trying to go up the line, and enough pressure in the form of Aidan Downey to force it just outside. Japanese really struggling to get the separation they normally enjoy from these American defenders. Big shot all the way down the field into the hands of Maguire. Maguire continues it to Brown, and Brown launches one with lots of float. It's going to take a hell of a run, but shepherded out by Matsuhashi.
Acceleration from Matsuhashi to catch up from the center of the field was incredible.
And there's 2 calls for the deep shot. Brown is accelerating himself, and in the end it was going to go over the entire pack.
Brown did a phenomenal job in suckering in the offenders, making them misread it, trying to get an early attempt, but just not enough
Seen some very impressive acceleration from players out there on the pitch. Now Brown with a big cut into the open under space. Instead they go with the dump to Miller. And a break, and almost stealing through on a block with Suzuki. But nice bravery, and Americans go right back to get it to working it down the pitch. Simcoe, that's a name that's going to ring out back home. Brown has it on the far sideline. No Huck this time, just sends it down to Miller instead, and Miller overshoots looking for the end zone. Maguire's an athlete, but that would have taken something superhuman.
Yeah, again, we're looking at the difference in conditions between today and the rest of the tournament. It's considerably less windy. So whilst they're used to the quick catch and release and allowing their cutters to sit and run onto the throw, it's just they're not able to do that so much today.
Natsuhashi with a lovely break into the middle of the pitch, and then slightly too much float on the follow through. Again, perhaps not quite ready for the elements, or for the elemental American side. Stewart. It almost looked like a high release flick to the open side, and down he collects. Down he sends it across to Simcoe. Simcoe. Stewart makes the one. Oh, that's a high floaty one. Miller is more than ready for it. And shoots back into the middle of the pitch. Collected by Stewart, and Stewart shooting for the end zone. That's better. And that's Brown.
Beautiful disc into the end zone. Quick backhand pivot. In again for the quick release of the flick. Lots of hugs for Stewart. Stewart being one of the top 10 college athletes for Ultiworld.
So another break for America, and that's 3 in a row. As we have a look, this was the deep shot. Let's just have a little insight into the acceleration of Brown on the defensive end. And here, that's the first pass. Normally a textbook follow through. Just a little bit unfortunate on this instance, perhaps rushing it ever so slightly. And then fantastically set up by Stewart. Like you said, pulls the whole defense over with that backhand fake. And showing her team how it's done with the well-weighted throw for Brown in the end zone.
The US are now up 3 breaks. They're in a strong advantage here. So 6-3. They're only a couple of points away from taking half, and Japan did say that they had a few tricks up their sleeve, so I'm wondering if they've still got a few more to reveal. But they've certainly got more fire than this. I'm not sure whether it's the US just applying so much more pressure that we can't really tell from up here. It's very different from an observer's point of view.
I think part of it is when you play the US, so often you're also playing their reputation. And when one thing goes wrong, it just seems like that's how it should be. That was almost an absolutely immaculate pull. Still quite a good one. And placing Mahiro Adachi in an uncomfortable position.
And Japan switching up their offense again. They're trying to switch between going not really horizontal stack, but almost 2-3-2, and now into a vertical stack.
Munoz looking for the poach. Really nice recognition from Japan to send it to Hamada. Knew immediately as soon as Munoz pulled off, he was going to be open in the middle of the pitch. So they're still trying to find their feet. Araki. It's going to be a pick called. I believe that's on Kokido. So Van Depp will get a chance to catch up. Araki under immense pressure and basically throws it, and an uncontested stall out. Araki just turned around and went, yeah, you got me. So now Munoz. Oh, I thought he was going to pick it up. Instead, it's going to be Van Depp making the call. Sarah Van Depp to try and isolate front of stack. I thought that was pretty successful, but looked off. And there, trying to stay in balance was Nicole Chan, setting up what could have been a fantastic layup, but this just a bit too far away in the end.
We're seeing a few of these athletes skidding and slipping around. Before the game, there were some sprinklers spraying water across the pitches to try and keep the pitches in a healthier condition, but that is causing some problems for them actually gaining traction here.
It was a seamless poach switch by Munoz. He is being a terror in the handler space. And you see why he was such a big player for Mixtape, why he is already a world champion last year in the club season. Actually part of that double peak for the Seattle side. Centers it into the middle. Krennic back to Munoz. Chan makes a move, but couldn't quite get free the first time, so it's got a lot of Krennic and Munoz right now as they're doing this isolation on the front of Stack. Nice cut to spread the pitch and a shot all the way across, but a bit too much sauce on that one by Agami Contreras.
And again, we're seeing Japan take their time walking to the disc. This must be exhausting. Having to run so hard against the US, and the US themselves also looking tired at times.
And that was a great move by Hamada, a brilliant throw as well. They're gonna have to find some kind of solution to the Munoz poach against that 1-6 J-stack. Centered to the middle, Araki tries to lead the pass along. Good use of the body. There's going to be a foul called by Agami Contreras.
I didn't get it. Okay.
俺は飛ぶ前に補助に入ってブロックしてもらったつもりはないですけど、飛ぶ前にブロックしてるから。
What he's saying is that he was in a position to go for a catch, and while he was in a position to catch, you also went to get a position for a catch, and that's where it initiated the contact. So I think what he's saying is that he was already in a position where you kind of came in.
I agree with that. What I was saying was I was getting ready to jump. I feel like he held my arm down, which made me jump off balance, and then I couldn't get up.
なんか押さえつけられたかもしれない。
You don't think so?
I'm not sure he's reacting that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you get a view on it?
I didn't get any view. I saw two going for it, and there was some stumbling of feet. I saw that. I did not see any contact with arms. It doesn't mean it didn't happen. It could have been just away from my view. So. Yeah. Okay. Is this a? Are we?
Sounds like
Yeah. Okay. So we're contested foul. Yep. Yep.
So Mahira Adachi. I feel like you could see the hand come out and ever so slightly getting Agami Contreras' way, but was Agami Contreras just planning to foul Adachi to get that D?
At least from my perspective, I saw Contreras go up and Adachi's arm getting contacted from Contreras, causing Contreras to go down whilst Adachi was already on his way up. So it's offsetting fouls.
Well, it was near effectively an offsetting foul. Adachi makes the move and gets the disc back. Working with Araki. Sending it back now to Katovka. Sorry, Nishida gets the quick pop to Hamada. They're struggling. Oh, and they're just a quick. Will that count in time? There's going to be a stall out called, so Munoz perhaps having an argument with Agami Contreras. Contreras, why are you taking away my Callahan?
Can retract the stall out call if you'd like to allow the Callahan.
Palms up, that's uncontested. I think there's going to be conversations later on tonight about that particular decision.
Reddit's going to go wild.
They've got a few things to talk about in this game already. Van Depp looks to give them another, and that is a great layout reaction save by Paul Krennic to get the score and make it 7-3.
Ooh, that point was very up and down. I'm not sure how to feel. Yeah, as you can see on the screen, the USA are on a 4-break run. Sorry, a 3-break run. They've taken 5 breaks so far in this game against Japan. Japan have a lot to answer to their offense is nowhere near as clean as it should be. Everyone is cutting all at once. The face in shock is so frustrated that wasn't allowed. But the offhand backhand, so casual in for Krennic to give the US a score 1 point away now from taking half.
I feel like perhaps a little bit too casual by Van Depp. You can see they ran on to hug Krennic immediately as a thank you. That's a peculiar decision, it has to be said.
Van Depp already been quite pinnacle for this USA side previous to this game, having 7 assists and 4 goals, and now has 2 assists in this game already.
Quick conversation on the sideline. You want to stay focused. Cycling through players. This is a big run for the Americans after what was a pretty closely fought early few points. But that pressure, they've just dislodged what the Japanese like to do best. Because now they try to refine that focus and those quick movements. And Matsuhashi just about able to get that one down the line and picked up by Nagai. And it's so difficult to keep finding responses. And Matsuhashi with a wonderful pirouette cut, but the throw just slightly ahead. And you have to give credit to the American defense, because these are not the kind of mistakes you normally see this Japanese side make with their throws.
Yeah, you can tell this is entirely a mental game.
Brilliant low flick break by Cole Moore to the near sideline. And the hands of Lauda. Lauda back to Moore. Has Austin Nab in front. Then Lauda. Goes with Lauda, swinging it around, and that's an amazing grab. Absolutely spectacular stuff by Schiltz. Gets it to Austin Nab. Not a bad grab himself. Back into the middle, so America just able to rescue each other with some of these plays. They're throwing Austin Nab to the ground as much as they can. Moore with the stutter step. I normally don't like that cut, but he does it very convincingly. He might be converting me. And now a bit of Dominator, just the two of them, the inside scoop, that's showing off, come on.
Showing off, but they get away with it. 8-3. An incredibly convincing first half for the USA, showing exactly why they deserve this semi-final spot at the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships.
That was almost Japanese in their final attack. The inside flick, scooping up and perfectly into the path of Austin Nab, who was able to just take his time and chase it down. And let's give a shout out to Austin Nab saving possession a few times himself. Perhaps the most spectacular grab was Schiltz. But this was early in the match. Disc floating, lots of players coming underneath it, but he just measures it to perfection, climbs a ladder, plucks himself down a cloud. That time turned down, you might not see it on that highlight, but he turned down the open side swing, wanted the break to Ing, and then look at this. Give me more, he says, and collects it for the 8-3 halftime lead.
For the first time ever, from the golden sandy blankets of Portimao, Portugal, ULA and Ulti TV bring you the World Beach Ultimate Club Championship 2024. The best club teams in the world will converge on the Portuguese Algarve. With expectations for upwards of 150 teams, this promises to be a tournament worth bucket listing. Whether on the sands or watching the action from your screen, WBUCC 2024 is a tournament not to be missed.
I will arise and go soon to the Isle of Emerald Green, and watch my mighty heroes go to battle on the screen. Where the ocean kisses Ireland, Shannon's tears of joy flow. That lovely Lady Limerick invites us to the show. From mighty glens and rugged hills, bays and braes raise a sláinte. Ganairi an bóthar leat, agus céad míle fáilte.
Welcome back, everybody watching at home and enjoying this wonderful semi-final action on this beautiful morning here in Nottingham. We are joined by one of the American coaches, Lauren Boyle. Lauren, thank you very much for hopping on the mic with us here at halftime. First question I've got to ask, huge break run to close that half from 4-3 to 8-3. It seems like you're doing a fantastic job of shutting down what Japan want to go to. How are you able to exert such pressure on?
Yeah, it really is about all 7 on the field buying into the defensive strategy that Hannah Baranis is talking about on the line, talking about those flat marks to swing wide, and all 7 really believing that if they shut down their person, there will be a tight window late in the stall for us to really test Japan's ability to have clinical throws, and that testing is helping us find some opportunities.
Yeah, so we spoke a little bit before the game about the team buy-in for trust, love, and mixed excellence. Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so something that's really special is the world kind of fades away for these 2 weeks. We have training for a week, and then we have the tournament for the week. And the connections that are built here, and then everyone really buying into this experience and really wanting to play mixed, using all 7 on the field defensively, all 7 on the field offensively, and really having all of their strengths shine. We've really, really bought into that. That's part of trust that each other are going to have each other's back. If things don't go perfect, we're fine with each other being messy. And then also really utilizing that we hit open hands and we really try to push our ability to play mixed.
And speaking about pushing your ability to play mix, we know that you guys play to your own standard always. So there have been a couple of turns once you've gotten the disc off the Japanese. Do you have any plans to try and adjust the offense going into the second half?
It really is just trusting, like we said, trust and love in our abilities that there are going to be some execution errors. There is going to be messy moments, and that we trust our defense to get it back with all 7. There isn't a doubt in our mind that we might not have perfection and that we really play for each other. So when it happens, it's just kind of let's just get reps on D.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck in the second half. Here's still plenty of game to go.
Thank you.
So here is the incredible defensive pressure that we've seen from the US. There's barely any distance whatsoever from Japan. If we could just have a quick pause here, you can see how tight the marks are here. They're ridiculously close. They're not allowing any sort of buffer between their mark, and it's causing so much trouble for Japan because they love their pop passes and they'll often loft it between each other, and they don't have the opportunity to do that. It's really shutting down any flow that they can generate.
And there is the final layout. So much of what the Japanese try to do is within that 5-meter box just in front of the handler, and you could see they're even setting up in that 1-6 and trusting their players to be able to get just an ever so slight gap. Well, right now there's a big gap, and they're going to have to work very hard to close it in the second half. 8-3 to the United States.
Champion open in Austin. Paige Pierce.
Welcome back, everyone, all over the world, to the sunny fields at the University of Nottingham. Haven't been able to describe it like that too many times this week, but we are getting some absolute scorcher of a situation right now, and especially matching the intensity we're seeing on pitch, as we have a look at the game stats so far.
Yeah, 2 holds each and a clean hold each as well. But as you start to look down the latter part of the stats, Japan with more turnovers, but the US really pulling in, reeling in those breaks, giving them this massive buffer, this 8-3. It's going to be a mountain to climb for Japan.
So Miller gets it to Stewart, and Stewart across to Madeline Simcoe. Madeline Simcoe, such a force. Well, you could say that about so many of the players. I could say that about Maguire as well. I could say that about Stewart. And now back to Simcoe. Playing at the highest level of the mixed division, internationally and for their club. And back into the middle, Simcoe again. Nice resets, but that may be a bit too casual. Nicely peeled off and blocked. The poach in the lane working out for Japan.
Yeah, sneaky defensive look. They were applying much less pressure on the person on force, just pretty much allowing them to be by themselves and having that extra buffer in the lane, that extra poach getting in the way. And as you can see, it was successful. It's given Japan the turn.
Nice poach block by Okamoto. But again, so much pressure. Really nice work to get free and set up the deep shot. It was nice by Nagai. Big bid comes up empty and collected for the score and the break. That's bookends for Kosuke Okamoto.
Threading the needle between the defense. Brown slaps the ground in frustration, understandably. So close. And the composure from the Japanese receiver to get that. They're so happy. First break in the second half.
My favorite team on the gimbal all week long. They are show people through and through. As we're going to have another look. Really great heads up block. Kosuke Okamoto, and then you can see one of the most dangerous men with a disc in hand. The guy measures that to perfection. Brown left swiping at nothing.
One of the most dangerous throwers against one of the most dangerous defenders.
And he gets it into the hands of Kosuke Okamoto. So if you had to start the second half somehow, that would be your ideal situation. An early break, 3-pass offense, and a score, 8-4.
So we spoke to some of the Japanese coaches and team leaders ahead of the game, just asking them, well, you've played up against the US already. How are you going to be approaching this game? It's a pretty classic question you ask a team. And we mentioned that they were quite secretive, but they did say that they were wanting to try and shut down the USA's long shots as much as possible. They know how tall they are. They know how fast they can run. They know how high they can jump. They're almost trying to match that, but use that to their advantage, shutting them down and almost try and make the US play Japan's game, stay in control for as long as possible.
So Van Depp sends that across. Kurilovic down the line to Chang. Back into Munoz. It's another Japanese zone. Haven't got to see too much of it since the early exchanges of this matchup due to that impressive break run by America. Cowan had a couple of plays himself earlier on. Inside break, it's floated just in front of Van Depp. They get low and grab. Big time play. Set across to Chang. Munoz felt they were free. As you can see, the Japanese starting to poach off a little bit in that lane. And that one came awfully close to the ground. And Munoz admits it himself. Yep, that'll probably hit the dirt.
I wasn't sure whether to call that myself, but thankfully Munoz does it for me.
Hiroto Matsuhashi thinks about the deep shot. There's the peel off at the back of the stack. If it's going to float enough, it might just not. It's dropping all the time. Great cut by Shuro Nagai. Far side of the pitch, but the throw didn't quite have enough.
There was a second of hesitation from Matsuhashi on that throw. Did see Nagai going deep, but such a powerful arm.
So Agami Canteras can talk about powerful arms. And Munoz. Canteras. It's another to Chang. And Chan, nice uprush as well to kind of dislodge the defense and not let that poach sit in a dangerous position. when you're clearing out, you can take some defenders with you, but there's a bit of a bobble, and the disc hits the ground again. So Japan with another shot at a break. Can they take advantage? Matsuhashi. That initial cut. Chan is hanging out in that lane. Dangerous, but there's a pick which would explain how Shuto Nagai got so free.
That's not something that's going to happen too often. A player's not going to be completely free like that.
And a reset. Oh, there's going to be another pick called.
It was a violation. The players weren't quite ready. They started play a bit too early.
Back to Matsuhashi. There's a cut to the open side, but it's really well shut down initially. So much pressure on every move Japanese are making. Nagai has a chance to send it to the back of the end zone, but couldn't get the throw off in time. Kasahara. Kasahara has been working very hard against the attentions of Chan. Kasahara sends it to Hosotani. Back to Kasahara. Matsuhashi tries to get free. There's Nagai as well. Instead, it winds up with Goto. Goto, big bid. Understandably. You gotta just assume, and then there's a little bit of contact.
Grinding these open undercuts. They stayed within the same few meters for the past 2 minutes.
So Matsuhashi has the disc in hand. Kasahara to his right.
Okay, yeah, I think we need a translator.
So the call being that Matsuhashi jumped from out of bounds, inbounds, catching the disc.
Okay. No, I think she says she's calling him out, okay?
俺
Yeah.
ピックじゃなくてアウトオブバウンズ外から飛んだからイオなんじゃないの
中に入ってから普通に
外から飛んでも中に入って
外から飛んでない
た内側から飛んで
普通に中で入って普通に取った
So watch the feet
Well,
here.
he's saying that he jumped from inside to inside.
I watched his feet on the other side of the line. Come run, he ran
こんな飛べんもん俺
and jumped and caught it and landed in.
この距離飛んだってこ
Last
と
point
俺
of contact before catching the disc was out of bounds.
聞いてみる見えてるか聞いてみて
Can we ask for
別
footage?
にいいけど俺は入った自信がある
Okay, if we have footage and we can get it quickly, we can do that. I cannot offer a clear perspective on display. Okay, so it was too close to tell from my point of view. Okay,
I don't think anyone
but if we have,
この人なんて言ってんの
この人は見えんかったから
yeah, you are.
You
are.
Okay, if we ask the sideline for perspective?
横の人に聞いてみてもいい
There's no footage. There's no footage.
Can we
Okay.
ask? Did anyone see?
So we're going
was
to have
out?
another look
No.
ourselves.
It was
She
in?
just said in.
It was out. Jump from out of bounds to inbounds?
Okay.
So we do have footage, and
Your team too. I
looking
don't
at
want
it there,
just-
looks like Matsuhashi, because he jumped from out of bounds, was still technically out of bounds when he caught that disc.
Yeah, I don't
Jeez,
have a
that
clear
is a turnover.
perspective on this. Okay, so I think it's been quite a long time. Do you think we should?
I mean,
Yeah.
they were. I was on the ground. I didn't see, but
Yeah.
she's calling it out, and people on the sideline
Okay.
are calling it out.
So this is okay. Do you have anything from your players?
直哉が言いたそうだけ
Well,
ど
our number 7 is saying that he dodged the player that was on the ground. I think
Yeah.
it's you.
Yeah.
And then his jumping foot was inside.
Okay, sounds that it is an out call, which is going to be contested apparently. All right. Okay, so out contested. Oh, you got it. So there's a footage. And was it? It is being called out. You
But
yeah, but just
but Nate,
if you want to watch, go quickly though.
yeah.
All right.
We can
Go,
go watch?
yeah, go watch. Go watch quickly. Go watch quickly.
So
Yeah.
under the WFDF
All right, go watch
rules,
quickly.
you are allowed
Quickly,
to look at playback footage to be able to make a secondary judgment on really any call.
And this time they are going to one of the legends of Ultimate Media. And a man who is providing his perspective for them. Documentary evidence.
I think it was.
I'm just here for the microphone.
Which is out. I mean,
No, that
okay.
Okay.
I mean, if you're contesting it, then there's nothing that they can
Okay,
do,
so
right?
they're contesting it.
So it's going
Contested
to go
it.
back after a lengthy discussion. And if you like to enjoy your own discussions about Ultimate, well, there's no better source of information than Flick Ultimate. So flickulti.com, check it out for all the strategy and really add a bit of depth to your Ultimate conversations.
Yes. Okay.
So it's your
The resolution.
Yes.
Yeah.
Matsuhashi will pick up. Oh, because it's contested, it will in fact go back. So Miho Goto under pressure.
So violation call as players are getting themselves back into position. The stall count is quite high at this point.
Goto's going to have to put something up. That stall count's got to be coming. Turns, flicks, forces. Plenty of people underneath it. And in the end, it is Agami Contreras who gets the block. But intense pressure by the Americans. And then Munoz floats that one over the top of Van Depp. Able to chase it down. Van Depp gets it back. Nice, quick give goes. Hits Chan on the near sideline. Chan looking to float it across. And it pops over the first, gets the touch, and an insane play by Munoz.
What an incredible save. Munoz giving the perfect example as to why he has a gold medal to his name.
Well, when in Europe, you might as well do the Euro step. Understandably devastating for Japan to be so close to getting a second break. And even getting that touch, you see Goto was under so much pressure. Had little option but to make that play.
Swatted out of the air. The USA capitalizing. That backhand was looking really good. Tipped up by Hosotani. But Munoz saving the US break. Incredible stuff.
And you would run onto the pitch screaming yourself if that was you. Japan came so close to opening the second half with 2 breaks. But in the end, America able to rush down the field. Maybe not as clean as they would have initially intended, but it's a score nonetheless. Austin Nab, the big arcing pull. He's going to need that blade a lot sharper. Off the sideline and out the back.
Seeing a lot of these pulls, I'm curious to know how far a lot of these athletes can throw the disc. If you just were like, right, you've got this line here, you've got all this space, throw it as far as you want.
So here come Japan, starting from the break mark, looking to move things around. Onishi, Matsuhashi. Again, that pressure. So difficult to breathe, crushing them at times. But Japan find just enough of a gap. Okamoto, big bid, but not enough to dislodge it from Ishii. Although on the second chance, he looks to send it, and there's another turn. So here come the US once more. Sarah Liang. Offhand break and a comfortable scooping pass. Perhaps a bit too comfortable as it falls down in front of Kaylin Lauder. So Cole Moore had some fantastic give and go earlier in the first half. Slightly misfiring on that one.
He was completely unmarked on the force, so as you mentioned, too casual.
A deep cut immediately. Being chased down, that is fantastically thrown and chased on the opposite side. Onishi goes for the quick pop in and the score, and Japan respond quickly. Ishii picks it up with the grab.
Onishi turns on the boosters, going immediately deep. And you can see as he was chasing the disc disc down, had so much pressure from Austin Nab on the back, quickly turned his head around to make sure that he didn't run into Nab's way as he gets the disc soaring out towards the left-hand side. Here's the head turn, catching the disc immediately. Just quickly making sure wasn't going to get checked. Fakes the inside, unmarked, but the break throw into Ishii for Japan's score.
And Matsuhashi did a great job of recognizing that Austin Nab was trying to poach under. He's trying to give those extra yards and say, I know where you guys want to get it. You want to get it right in front of the handlers. We've got the flat mark, so you're going to try and push them out wide either side. So this is where I need to be positioned to limit your availability. Matsuhashi absolutely sends one. Really quickly recognized. Nicely executed by the Japanese.
And you can see the culture and the ethos that Japan brings to all of these international tournaments. Every time that there's a point, it almost looks like there's a timeout call because every single player is on the sideline. They're in the end zone together, bringing on water bottles, bringing on shade, food, whatever it is that the next line coming on needs to get themselves ready for that point.
Well, we've seen they're trading right now in the second half, but Japan did start on defense, came very close to 2 breaks in a row. So there's every reason to think they're still very much in this game and competing for a finals berth. Miller to Agami Contreras. Contreras tries to throw it in. That might have been another example of that sneaky breeze you've been talking about.
It is very sneaky, particularly today.
Araki across to Hosotani. Hosotani gives it right back. Araki almost faking a scuba. Big bid, but getting nothing for it. Back, well, Araki was trying to get it back. Brown is trying to stop it. Like you said, one of the most imposing defenders in this tournament. There's the quick pop. And they need to get off that sideline. And they do so very effectively. Nagai, another player who's been tearing it up all week long. There's the quick play over the top. Kasahara sends it back into Araki. Araki trying to get free. There's going to be a call. Pick, so that'll have to go back.
Yeah, Araki not too happy with the options that he's looking at currently. Did have an open player on the open side, but decided not to take that on.
Shimo Yamada is doing everything in his power to escape the attentions of Contreras. Great use of his body to block it off. So difficult for them to find any kind of space. Kasahara. And that is perhaps a spectacular play. There's going to be a little bit of conversation.
Yeah, strip call as Miller, it's the swipe through grab.
Okay, no contest.
Okay, so foul accepted.
Hey, that's great feedback.
Okay.
You can still see that culture talking to each other. Stewart immediately, that's great defense, that's fine, we'll reload, we'll reset. Agami Contreras is putting Shimoyida in jail, but that's a fantastic throw. And a little bit of a jailbreak to Hosotani, throwing it around the defense.
Yeah, Hosotani was calling that she was free, saying like, I'm right here, come on, throw this option. And something I have noticed, at least in this last point, but probably has been going on the last few points, as we see the celebration, it's so wonderful to see this Japanese side. But on offense, they're not utilizing their break throws as much. Obviously, the US are applying so much pressure. As we get another look at that quick turn. They're applying so much pressure on defense, but I've noticed multiple offenders that are wide open. They're so available and free to be able to get the disc, but they're just not taking on those break throw options. It's possibly some hesitation, or like thinking, oh, they could get a block on me, but take on those options. If it's free, use it. You need to threaten that, otherwise the US are just going to continue churning those open side blocks.
Hesitation, the enemy of effectiveness. And it is really limiting the availability of those guys because the windows are so small. Japan play with such brief opportunities to get those breaks off that when they, for a split second, doubt themselves or think maybe not, the chance is already gone. But this time able to take advantage and get another break. That's their second break this half. They're currently 3-1 up in the second half, 9-6 down overall. How will America respond? And again, a couple of errant throws, but their receivers are taking care of them. Austin Nab now with it. As they're going for just the cheekiest of push passes to Ing. Gets it back. Somehow Ing found some space there. And that space was a lot easier to come by for Gray. They pop it back to Austin Nab. Back to Gray. Didn't like that pass availability to Chan. Big bid, but Austin Nab's able to get it. Gray again. Working really well with Austin Nab. Into the center. Cole Moore is able to float it around to Ing. Back to Moore. This is really good cutting and movement by the handlers, or at least in the handler space. And fantastic shimmy, shake, and score by Sarah Liang.
Yeah, the reliable and strong hands of Sarah Liang. A lot of the players were gender mismatched on defense. I can't initially think of as to why that would be a tactic. They weren't necessarily playing any sort of zone or any poachy defense. It was quite tight match or person defense.
Let's just have another look at this cut. And that's something you've really got to keep in mind. Attack the back of your defender. Make them turn their head to find you. And then when they look, be gone. Liang, lethal in that space. So you got to look at Hannah Branes marshalling the troops. So 10-6, and America able to steady the ship with a nice clean hold. I'd imagine that's what they were coming out with. There was a couple of chances. Some really great work by Gray and Austin Nab on this near sideline. Just keep that give go. Gain some yards and center it back into Cole. Cole Moore, number 6, who eventually picked up the assist. Araki goes with a big flick. It's floating. It's perfect. Collected on the other side. Kokido waiting for opportunities. Eventually finds one in the form of Nishida.
There's a foul call in the front of Stack.
Oh, retracted? Oh, retracted, okay.
He's back in. Nishida calls a timeout, understandably.
Yeah, both of these teams been grinding so hard early on this morning.
So Japan right on the end zone line, looking to get an offensive hold and bring this game back to 10-7. come back. Nishida picking up that disc in front of the end zone as the Americans now have an opportunity to set themselves up. Be interesting to see if they go with a clamp. They know the space that Japan is looking to operate within. You can see almost setting up, at least momentarily, in a zone. 3 American defenders, all seemingly marking 1 Japanese offender. And instead they look to send it high and wide immediately, and effectively done so.
Uncontested out, accepting that immediately.
Takai was trying to toe the line. Von Depp across to Cowan. There's a pick called, which would go some way to explaining the liberation Krennic was enjoying. So Cowan trying to do a good job of at least shutting down that initial option. Get to Chan instead. And Cowan throwing his shoulders one way and the rest of his body the other. Generates enough space for that up the line. Back into the middle to Munoz. Munoz thinks about the deep shot, decides against it. Has Von Depp. Needs a break, but that's what the Americans do better than everybody else. Those break throws. Chan back to Munoz. Munoz again. Almost looking like there was a call the way he just kind of held the disc down. That is confidence. That is comfort.
Yeah, it's really casual. Japan trying to force their cutters underneath. They know how dangerous the US are in the deep space, but it is also allowing a free dump option. They can reset the disc pretty much whenever they want to. They just need to make a couple of steps underneath and then they're completely available already.
Von Depp looking for Cowan. Finds him. Again, like you said, that same cut set up time and time again. Goss goes back to Cowan. Now trying to isolate, and they're going to look to hit this break side. Munoz. They've isolated Von Depp in the front of the stack. Brilliant cut to the break side and then moving again. Sides against though, Cowan to Munoz. Skips it across to Krennic. And Munoz get that 7 cut so effective, whether it's the front of the stack or it's the dump, and then they hit it for the score and collected by Olivia Goss.
That's the kind of break throw that is ruining defenses. That's the kind of thing that I'm wanting to see more from Japan, who are just churning it through the open side. And the US just showing how much of a high-class team they are. 5-point separation.
And starting to stretch it out. As we have another look. This is that great shot from Araki.
Even that throw looks super casual. It looked like it was just going to be a quick lead pass, but no, went all the way across the pitch. Yeah, good call on that in-out. And Munoz getting another stat to his name so far with a goal, an assist, and a block.
The lethality of the throwing prowess of this American side means that when somebody does cut up the line to the break side, Japan are selling out. Or when somebody's at the front of the stack and they cut to the break side, Japan are selling out to try and stop that option, which means that a quick plant and turn to the open side, and all of a sudden you've got acres of space to collect it in. And done with great effect by Munoz to set up that opportunity. So here comes Japan again. The O-line. There's America getting a break back. And that is a tasty dish, gobbled up hungrily. Toshiki Ishii getting low and then spreading it out to Onishi. Sends it down the line. Taken by Kurakano. Back across to Ishii. Searching for Onishi. And couldn't get it in the end. hit the ground. So now America with another chance for a break. Spreading it out wide to Ing. Ing down the line. And the bid, but not getting anything in time. Lauder's able to put hands around it. Austin Nabb uncorks a massive one, searching for the end zone, looking for a big player, but it's comfortably collected in the end. Ing, and another break for America.
You could see as Ing was cutting deep, he was already setting himself up for having to bid, starting to shorten his stride, but as that disc floated back down into the end zone, managed to collect it so casually. And you can see the physical intensity of that point ramped up. We saw at least 4 layout attempts and bids from Japan in that point. And again, that's the pressure that we want to see from them.
McNabb and Ing have had quite a partnership so far. That throw, maybe just saving the blushes a little bit. And there you can see the inside break earlier on. Those from the first half, fantastic shots and receptions. Then we had a look just there. Sent a huck earlier on. One way, they can do it in both directions. 2 absolutely stellar players.
And both of them having 4 stats to their name each. Austin Nabb with 2 goals and 2 assists. Henry Ing with 2 goals, an assist and a block.
I think everybody coming into this, like when you're talking to players around the arena and you're saying, well, we're going to be doing the mixed, a couple of names came up over and over again. Obviously Madeline Simcoe, Agami Contreras, and Henry Ing. No one really mentioned Austin Nabb to us. So he's nabbed himself a few stats. I saw you roll your eyes. Hamada. Again, that's kind of the break that they just turned down initially and then overthrowing Nishida. You feel like they'd have gone for that breakthrough in most of their games up to this point. Miller, almost throws that behind Downey. It's been a good few times in this game where the receivers, you talk about trust, those throws have been a little bit off center, but the receptions right on the money.
That's just the level of experience that a lot of these players have, most of them playing for already existing and heavily qualified mixed club teams in the US.
It's a nice little bit of give go between Downey and Miller. Now it is in the hands of Katrina Maguire. Maguire goes right back to Downey. And this give go, sometimes the handlers in this 2-5 set, they then just run just a dominator. Again, turning down that leading pass, perhaps just a little bit too hard. Agami Contreras back to Downey. Spreading it across to Simcoe. Downey, Simcoe again. Just exhausting these poor defenders. And a finishing throw to Abigail Schultz.
Simcoe, my goodness, she was the absolute leader of that point, getting everyone into the right place at the right time.
As you can perhaps hear the call, break time for hybrid. Madeline Simcoe doing her club proud.
You mentioned Simcoe playing for Ann Arbor / Michigan hybrid, depending on which one you're wanting to go for.
Maybe a blend.
Played for 5 years. And has no national experience so far, so this is her first time representing the USA.
And you were talking about all of the experience across this American side, and a big part of why this team is so well constructed comes down to the selection process that even happens before they start doing the training weekend. And we definitely want to give a shout out to 2 of the coaches not here with us, but involved in that selection process. Izzy Bryant of Exist and Carlos Lopez of Dragon Thrust. a huge part of building the culture and setting the foundational blocks of this team. And they want the entire US mixed team want to make sure they send some love to those two coaches for their help. As Japan 13-6 down. They started the second half so brightly and looking to show off a little bit of their shine still, but Austin Nab was ready for it. Watched it all the way. Gray launching a blade themselves. It's looking, and again, quite a comfortable catch in the end for Ng, who finishes off with a quick pop to Liang.
Ooh, the confidence from Gray. That looked like quite a bladey throw, but they managed to just absolutely crank it in the right direction. And when you've got a receiver like Ng on the other end, it's so tempting to take that on. Phenomenal work from Gray.
So the USA closed off the first half with a 5-point run after a little bit of trading and a couple of breaks. And it looks like they're going to do something similar here. That's another 5-point run. If we have a look, big blade from Gray. Brilliantly positioned.
You can hear in the stands a lot of the stomping and the clapping in support of Japan. I don't believe they're actually Japanese themselves in the stands, but everybody loves an underdog. Despite this underdog actually, well, Japan last time when they represented in 2019 in Heidelberg were the silver medalists. That was an incredible game. You should definitely watch that one if you haven't already.
And they're still in medal contention. I mean, they're still in medal contention for gold right now. It'll be the most spectacular thing that's ever happened. That doesn't mean it's impossible, as Japan, with some really great give and go, getting back to what makes them great. Matsuhashi working fantastically with Hosotani. Hosotani gets it back to Matsuhashi. The pops, the breaks, and those are the kind of throws you wanted to see more of, collected by Ishii for the score.
Ooh, I love to see it. That was phenomenal work. The footwork in the end zone as well, almost ballerina-esque, just tiptoeing. They weren't really in much of a risk of being outside of the end zone, but still just, ooh, phenomenal work from Toshiki Ishii.
So it's all about that really lightning quick give-go, working down the far sideline. Hosotani's playing a big role in it as well. And then taking on those break throws that perhaps they've been a little hesitant at times. Understandably so.
But that's like an integral part of their own game. They said to us before this that they want to continue to play their own game. They don't want to be sucked into the US's pressure.
And if you're enjoying this game, we've got so much more to come for you today. All of the semifinals, all of the finals, still to come. The Open and Women's Division. Right now you can watch on Field 1 and Field 2, the Mixed Division. The only way you can do it is with that Ultiworld subscription, ultiworld.com/subscribe for the best ultimate coverage in the world. Not to mention quite an expansive library, so you can enjoy the history.
This is a match point for the US. Be interesting to see what they bring out. If it is anything different or special, I can't imagine it would be. They're just wanting to trust in their systems.
So Miller. It's across to Simcoe. Back in and waiting for it was Stewart. And down the line, this is the quick action. Brown goes for the pop over the top, but a nice layup in, and Japan are far from done. Another block for Okamoto.
You talk about a sneaky breeze and you get sneaky bids like that.
Okamoto peeling off. Maybe Brown being a bit too casual. Send it back across to Kurokano. Inside break just about picked up by Matsuhashi. You might hear our pantomime crowd joining in the background. I think we all felt that one in our chests. Ishii and Matsuhashi, they've had fantastic connection throughout this week and today. Scoring the last point for Japan. Big bid but well held onto by Nagai. Back to Matsuhashi. Furakano comes under. Immediately gives it back to Matsuhashi. Sets him in a power position. He floats one out. That might be a bit much. And Simcoe in position to take it down with the grab.
Fair amount of contact on the back of Hosotani, but Hosotani saying like, no, everything's fine, don't worry about it. Thankfully, everyone is okay.
I think Hosotani understanding they engaged that contact. So Madeline Simcoe with a big fake out of the backhand. So it goes back. Stewart across to Miller. Searing that one through into the middle to Downey. Back to Miller. Krennic. Down the line and waiting for it was Maguire. Has Brown, sees him, sends him. Miller with the quick. And there's the reset into the middle. Downey looking to finish it off for the book ends and the final book king, Madeline Simcoe.
USA are going to the finals of the World Under-24 Ultimate Championships. Well earned. They were just so dominant throughout this entire game. They did not let up whatsoever. Some incredible work from Japan. They did try to utilize their own systems and keep their structures. They switched it up a fair few times, maybe just to confuse the American defense, but unfortunately not effective. This American outfit just so clean and clinical. You can see what it means for these Japanese athletes, but still in bronze medal contention.
So the Americans doing what the Americans do best, and getting themselves into gold medal contention here at the Under-24 World Championships. It's their 4th straight mixed finals appearance. Every single time they've taken home the top prize. Talking about how Okamoto had those heads-up plays, but that finish, Downey to Simcoe. Madeline Simcoe after that Okamoto D. Japan would wind up setting into power position and shooting to the end zone, but Simcoe brought it down. So we have a quick look at the game stats.
2 clean holds each and only 1 hold difference between them. Roughly, I'd say roughly the same amount of turnovers, almost the same amount of turnovers, but that big difference in breaks. Japan still able to get 3 breaks under their belts. Really strong showing, but unfortunately not strong enough.
And while it may only seem like America had 2 clean holds, it is also important to note during that very impressive 5-point run, which involved 4 breaks, they didn't turn it over once. That D-line would get the disc, well, the first point of it as well, the O-line had one of those 2 clean holds, but then the next 4 points, the D-line would get the disc and would punch it in. So on the D-line actually had 6 clean holds, showing off just why they're so dangerous.
Here's a look at the rest of the bracket. Currently on pitch 2, Singapore are up against Canada, 12-9. Tickling at the final. This could be super exciting. Singapore mix have been causing quite a storm so far.
And we are joined by not 1, but 2 of the players from this American outfit who've been so impressive all tournament long. Hayden, Austin Knabb, and Madeline Simcoe. First of all, I know you're going to want to talk about your team, but I'd just like to take a moment to talk about you, Austin Knabb. You had a fantastic game in that matchup. How did you look to approach them offensively? You're getting big grabs and some fantastic throws.
I was just trying to trust my teammates and trust what we've built so far and go in with confidence. I think,